Have you ever stopped to wonder why, out of all of the billions of works of art created all around the world, nearly everyone can recognize and identify the Mona Lisa? Humans have created artworks for over 30,000 years, yet this single work of art has captivated everyone's attention. So why is it so famous? Why is the Mona Lisa ingrained in all of our brains? Today, we'll explore why this is and uncover the hidden history behind the Mona Lisa. Art History Minutes. Here we go. Certainly the most famous painting in the world. More people the world over can look at this painting and identify the name of the painting and the name of the artist that painted it. Or, as John Lickfield of The Independent says, the best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, and the most parodied artwork in the world. The painting, though well painted, is certainly not the most beautiful painting in the world. I mean, come on, it's not like it's beautiful. I could name lots and lots of artworks that are more beautiful than this one, and yet this is the most famous one that we have. Why is that? And yet, most people think that's what art is about beauty. So wouldn't it make sense if the most beautiful artwork in the world was the most famous? And yet this isn't true. And very few people realize that its fame actually has nothing to do with what you see. The truth is, not many people know why it's so famous. It is an oil-painted portrait on a panel of a modest size, and it was painted nearly 500 years ago in the early 1500s. Some people would guess that it's so famous because of her smile, the Mona Lisa smile. She has this beautiful, enigmatic smile, this smile that says, I know something that you don't. I'm holding on to a secret that you're not aware of. So what is it that she knows? She was painted by one of the world's foremost geniuses, a man that was way ahead of his time. He held on to all sorts of secrets himself, and in fact, unbelievably, the artist of this painting literally trained himself to be able to write backwards so that he could hold on to his secrets. If you were to look at his journals, his writing was literally backwards, and when most people would look at his language in his journals, they thought it was a foreign language. In fact, if you held a mirror up to it, you could see that it was perfect Italian. Some people believe that Leonardo da Vinci actually suffered from dyslexia, which makes this mirror or backwards writing a little bit more natural for him. Nevertheless, he chose to write that way, and it kept a lot of his ideas secrets. Some of the many things that Leonardo da Vinci wrote about and drew about were things that the world had never seen before. Things like submarines, flying machines, tanks. He was one of the most creative geniuses of his day, and still to this day we marvel at the things that he came up with. So go ahead then, I got one for you. I said everybody can name the artist of this painting. Give it a shot. Tell me, who painted this painting? Leonardo da Vinci, the man, the myth, the legend. Yeah, you're right. That was easy, right? So now, what was his last name? Da Vinci. Sorry, that one isn't correct. In fact, Leonardo da Vinci is not his last name. When you say Leonardo da Vinci, you're actually speaking a bit of Italian yourself. The word da, D-A, means of or from in Italian, and Vinci is the town that he was born in. So in fact, when you say Leonardo da Vinci, you're not saying the man's name at all. You're saying Leonardo of Vinci, or Leonardo from Vinci. Let's keep it absolutely real though. Leonardo da Vinci is how he was known in his day, so even though da Vinci is not a surname or a last name how we normally consider it these days, that was exactly how he was known in his day. So let's talk about the title of the painting then. What's the title of the painting? Mona Lisa, La Gioconda. Depending on what country you're from, you would have given me a different answer. In fact, it's known by different names across the world. Here in America, it's called the Mona Lisa. Perfect. If you go to Paris, France, where the painting is actually at, that you can view it, you would ask, where's the Mona Lisa? They would know what you were talking about, but in fact they call it La Gioconda. And in Italy, where the artist was from, it is known as La Gioconda. Now, others might tell you that the reason why this painting is so famous is because she's always watching you. There's seemingly a little mystery to this painting, that no matter where you are in the gallery, you could pace back and forth in front of it, yet she always looks like she's looking at you. This might be kind of true, yeah. But if you think about it, this would be true of any portrait where the subject is literally looking out from the painting. No matter where you are in a room, it might appear that they're looking at you. So I don't think that this is any necessary magic to the Mona Lisa itself. This is true of most of portraiture. So this is no reason why it would be so famous. Yet it's talked about for this painting because now that it is so famous, people go to the painting and they will literally pace back and forth and study it from multiple points of view to see what's happening with it. And when they do that, they're like, wait, she's still looking at me. Whoa, let me get over here. Whoa, oh, she's still looking at me. So it is found out about this painting, but only because of its fame. Another guess about this painting, although not in normal circles necessarily, is that in fact the Mona Lisa is a self-portrait. Leonardo da Vinci did draw a self-portrait, and when you compare it to the Mona Lisa itself, it is eerily similar. Leonardo da Vinci, drawn portrait, take away the beard, believe it or not. But that is another guess at why it's so famous. So I've given you lots of reasons and interesting things about why this painting might be famous, but in fact none of them are true. These are interesting concepts and things that were attached to the painting after it became so famous. As I stated earlier, truly it is not famous at all for anything that we can see right now. This artwork, the Mona Lisa, gained its notoriety and all of its fame because of something that happened to the painting itself, the actual object. Because in fact, one day about 100 years ago, the painting was stolen. So you say, wait, it was stolen? How was it stolen? Well, I mean, honestly, good luck trying to steal it now. But over 100 years ago, when it was stolen, it was little more than just hanging on the wall by comparison to what we've got now. As far as security goes, for the Mona Lisa, it's considered to be priceless, and it is on high and severe lockdown. There are several cameras in the gallery itself that are recording all the time. They have invisible lasers around the painting that if you get too close to the painting, an alarm goes off. Then the painting itself is in a glass box with 3 inches of bulletproof glass. And within that glass box, there is also a temperature monitor that if the temperature changes even by the slightest fraction of a degree, another alarm goes off. The painting itself has motion sensors. If the painting itself is moved, there's alarms that go off. It has a really, really high level of security on the painting these days. Not to mention the fact that if you ever visit Lisa during day hours, you've got to share the gallery space. Don't expect that you will get the chance to contemplate the painting in isolation, because that is largely not the case. You share that gallery space with literally hundreds of other people, snapping selfies with it and whatever, pictures, blah, blah, blah. Man, it's this large, big, chaotic space. The Mona Lisa is currently in Paris, France. It's in a museum called the Louvre. And that building used to be the king's residence. Now it is home to perhaps the most comprehensive collection of artworks in the world. There are over 35,000 works of art owned by the Louvre. Leonardo da Vinci was an Italian man, yet the painting is in France. Interestingly, towards the end of Leonardo da Vinci's life, he was invited by the King of France to come join him. He brought many, many, many of his inventions and artworks, and he brought all these things up to stay and live with the King of France. But it turns out that Leonardo da Vinci died while in France, and the King of France basically looked at his collection of awesome things and said, hey man, I guess these are mine now. And that painting has stayed in France ever since. Another interesting tidbit, one of the first places that the Mona Lisa was hung, as choiced by the King of France, was in his bathroom. Mona Lisa is said to be visited by over 6 million people every year, and that would mean about 16,000 people a day. However, at the time of the theft, Mona Lisa was just amongst all the rest of the paintings. And not only was it not as famous as it is today, it was hardly famous at all. It was certainly not the most famous painting in the Louvre, and it wasn't even the most famous painting in the room. And that's why, when it was stolen, it was actually missing for over 30 hours before anyone even knew it was gone. It was actually a visitor to the museum that noticed the painting's disappearance. That visitor notified museum staff. Museum staff started to look around. Maybe it was being cleaned, maybe it was being photographed. But when it was finally decided that the painting was no longer in the museum at all, that's when the panic ensued. And when that happened, that is when the fame started. Word spread very quickly of the disappearance of the painting, and it soon turned into a French national scandal. The story of it was published all around the world. We're talking about a time where the internet was not a thing, so we had newspapers that would spread the word of news like this, and it was literally published all around the world about the theft of this painting. And over and over and over again, as all of these articles were published about it, people began to see the Mona Lisa, hear stories about the artist, and this is what really started to snowball the fame. Now, to add to the mystery and intrigue about this, the painting also had a very notorious suspect list. There were American moguls such as J.P. Morgan that were invited in for questioning, and even artist heavyweights like Pablo Picasso were questioned about what happened to the painting, almost as suspects themselves. And actually, the thieves that took it were long gone. The painting was missing for over 2 years, and during those 2 years, the painting was found 7 times. Yes, you heard me right, 7 times. There were 6 forgeries of the painting that surfaced while the real painting was missing. The forgeries are kind of an interesting story in and of themselves. The painting was given a huge reward, a huge monetary reward for anybody that returned the painting. So obviously people were in to make some money on the deal. Most of the forgeries wound up actually in America, and they were bought by people thinking that they had bought the true Mona Lisa. Interestingly, the Mona Lisa had previously already been photographed, and one of the ways that they could tell whether this was a real painting or a forgery, they would look at the cracks in the paint itself, almost like your fingerprint, right? Everybody's fingerprint is unique to that person. Well, the way a painting cracks works the same way. So they could compare the photographs of the actual Mona Lisa as documented from the Museum of the Louvre and compare it to a forgery, and if the cracks did not match up, they knew it was not the real one. There was an anonymous tip that came into the police, and the police went and tracked down the painting. No one ever received the reward, and the painting was returned to Paris, France. The dude that stole the painting was hired by the museum itself to improve its security. Man, the man claimed patriotism was his main motivation. He said, "I did this to bring the painting back home. Leonardo da Vinci is an Italian man, and this painting belongs back here in Italy." And maybe he thought that he would bring it back to Italy, and the whole country of Italy would rise up and say, "Yes, man, yes, you did the right thing." And maybe this huge cultural conflict would result, and Italy would guard this painting and keep it home. But in fact, none of that came to be. Italy was like, "Yeah, man, we got you. I feel you. But we're sending it back, man, and you get to go to jail." Leonardo da Vinci lived a crazy long life, by the way. He lived to the ancient age of 67. And I say ancient because in that day, the normal life expectancy was about 35 or 40 years old. So he had almost a double lifespan of what normal people were getting at the time. And it's said that Leonardo da Vinci worked on this painting for over a decade, maybe as many as 12 years. He traveled with it, he took it everywhere he went. Which, by the way, he really truly only painted about 12 paintings in his lifetime. But he had a strong affinity with the Mona Lisa. So maybe there really is something about the object itself. Maybe Leonardo da Vinci knew something about this work of art that had him so captivated. If he only knew what would happen to the painting in the future, that would cause everyone else to be captivated by it as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had a lot of fun learning these things. Did I miss anything? Do you know anything about Leonardo da Vinci or the Mona Lisa that I didn't add to the video? Go ahead, drop it in the comments below. We can all learn from you. And if you truly enjoyed it, man, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I hope to make a whole bunch more of these and keep teaching you about this stuff. Thanks.